girls. He will never pick you. You wish he would look at you.
Don't you dare close your eyes. Benit, stay with me, please. The scream cracked through the marble hallway like something breaking for real this time. A heavy thud. A body hitting something solid. A sharp, wet sound. Silence. Then, oh my God. Oh my God. Maria's voice trembled, not loud now, not screaming, just shaking. At the top of the staircase, Davion stood frozen, not confused, not thinking, just frozen. His hand gripped the railing, but he didn't feel it. His heartbeat pounded inside his ears so loudly it drowned everything else. Benit was at the bottom of the stairs, her body twisted at an angle that didn't look right. One arm stretched out like she had tried to catch herself. Her hair spread across the white marble floor, dark red slowly spreading beneath her. Davion blinked once, twice. What just happened? His voice didn't even sound like his own. Maria dropped to her knees beside Benit. Benit, hey, look at me, look at me. Her hands hovered above her stomach, but didn't touch it. She couldn't. Davion, do something. Why are you just standing there? He moved one step, stopped. His chest felt tight, like something heavy was pressing against it from the inside. I didn't. He swallowed. She was fine. Benit's lips parted slightly. A faint sound escaped her. Not a scream, not a word, just pain. Maria's breathing grew uneven. This isn't supposed to happen, she whispered. Davion heard that. He didn't understand it, but he heard it. What do you mean, not supposed to happen? His voice sharpened. Maria shook her head quickly. No, I didn't mean. Benit tried to move. A small, broken sound came from her throat. Davion finally rushed down the stairs. His knees hit the marble beside her. Benit. Hey, look at me. It's okay. You're okay. But she wasn't. His fingers brushed her cheek. Cold, too cold. He felt something shift inside him. A crack, a realization forming but not fully clear. Maria was crying now. Not loud, not dramatic, just that quiet, shaking kind of crying that comes when someone realizes something has gone too far. You don't understand, she said under her breath. Davion looked up sharply. Understand what? She hesitated. Her mouth opened, closed. I didn't think it would go like this. The words hung there. Davion's chest tightened again. What are you talking about? Benit suddenly gasped. A sharp inhale. Her fingers clutched at her stomach. And that's when Davion saw it. The blood wasn't random. It was centered, low. His vision blurred for a second. No. His voice broke slightly. Maria's eyes met his. And in that look, there was guilt, there was fear, and something else. Something that made Davion's stomach drop. Call 911, he snapped. Maria didn't move. Maria. I tried to fix it, she burst out suddenly. I didn't mean... Her voice cracked violently. Davion stared at her. Fix what? Benit's breathing grew weaker. Her lips moved like she wanted to say something. Davion leaned closer. What? Benit, what? Her voice was barely air. I thought I won. And her body went still. Silence flooded the hallway. Not peaceful silence. Heavy silence. Maria covered her mouth. Oh God. Oh God. Davion felt something inside his head shift. Pieces. Moments from the last few days. The headaches. The fog. The confusion. The way his emotions felt. Not his. The way he couldn't think straight. The way he kept choosing things that didn't even feel like choices. He slowly looked up at Maria. What did you do? She shook her head violently. I just wanted you to see me. That's all. What did you do, Maria? Her breathing turned frantic. I went to Mama Solace. I needed help. I was losing you. Losing me. Davion stood slowly. His hands trembled. You don't lose someone who was never yours. Maria's face collapsed. I didn't think it would hurt anyone. She said it would only cloud your mind. Just enough for you to lean toward me. Just enough for you to forget her. Davion's stomach dropped. Forget Daisy, the woman he was supposed to marry. The woman he had started doubting for no reason. The woman who looked at him like she knew something was wrong but couldn't prove it. His breathing grew uneven. What did she say exactly? He asked quietly. Maria hesitated. Well, she said, if another woman bathed you, really bathed you, it would break. Davion froze. His mind flashed to 3 nights ago. The shower, warm water, Daisy's hands steady on his face, her voice soft. You need clarity. And suddenly, everything made sense. He staggered back slightly. You controlled me. Maria shook her head. No, I just nudged things. You drugged my mind. I loved you. No, he said firmly, voice shaking. You wanted to own me. Her shoulders collapsed. Silence again. Sirens in the distance now. Faint, growing closer. Davion looked down at Benit. Then back at Maria. One of them tried to secure him through his body. The other tried to secure him through his mind. And now, one lay motionless on cold marble. The other stood trembling, already losing everything. Davion whispered, almost to himself, what would you do if you found out someone controlled your mind, just to make you love them? He swallowed hard. Have you ever felt confused in love? Like you weren't yourself? Like your decisions didn't even sound like you? What happens when desire turns into obsession? This story broke me. Stay with me till the end, because forgiveness changes everything. And if you love powerful emotional stories like this, please take a second and like this video. It helps YouTube push stories like this to more people. And subscribe if you believe love should come with lessons, not control. This isn't just drama. This is consequence. And we're just getting started. The sirens were louder now. Too loud. Too real. Maria stepped back slowly, her legs weak, her breathing uneven. I didn't mean for this, she whispered. I swear I didn't. Davion didn't answer. He was staring at his hands. They were shaking. Not slightly, violently. He pressed them against his chest as if that would steady something inside him. You went to her, he said quietly. Maria nodded once. Her lips trembled. Well, yeah. I did. Why? Because you weren't choosing me, she snapped suddenly. You kept looking at her like she was the only woman in the room. Daisy is my fiancée. That's not what it felt like, Maria shot back. There it was. The crack, not jealousy. Possession. She ran both hands through her hair, pacing now, her words tumbling over each other. I grew up never being enough. Do you know what that feels like? To always be almost chosen, almost loved, almost seen. Davion's jaw tightened. So you thought control was better than rejection? I thought, she swallowed hard, I thought if you leaned toward me just a little, you'd realize I was the right one. You don't drug someone's soul to prove you're right. Her face crumpled. I didn't drug your soul. She said it wasn't that deep. She said it would just soften you, blur things, make you unsure. Davion laughed once. But it wasn't humor. It was disbelief. Blur things? His voice rose. I almost destroyed my engagement because I couldn't think straight. I doubted a woman who's never lied to me. I felt things that didn't even feel like mine. He stepped closer. Not aggressively, but intensely. You stole my clarity. Maria's breathing hitched. I loved you. No, he said again, softer this time. You loved the idea of winning. Silence. The kind that makes your ears ring. Maria's shoulders dropped. Mama Solis said there would be a price. Davion looked at her slowly. What price? She said, if another woman cleansed you, if she bathed you fully, the hold would snap, and the energy would go somewhere. His chest tightened. Go where? Maria's eyes flicked toward Benit's still body. Davion's breath caught. You're saying this is because the spell broke? I don't know. She cried. She said, Energy doesn't disappear. It transfers. It reacts. Davion shook his head. No, don't you do that. Don't turn this into something mystical to avoid responsibility. I'm not, she yelled. I'm telling you what I was told. He stepped back, overwhelmed. The shower memory flashed again. Daisy's voice. You need clarity. The way warmth washed over him. The way the fog lifted. The way he suddenly felt like himself. He whispered it out loud now. She bathed me. Maria closed her eyes. Then it broke. The sirens stopped outside. Doors slammed. Footsteps approaching. But inside the mansion, it felt like time had slowed. Davion looked at Maria with something heavier than anger. Disappointment. You thought love was something you could force. I thought love was something I was tired of losing. Her voice cracked. I have watched women like Benit get chosen. Strong, bold, confident. I tried being sweet. I tried being patient. It never worked. So this time I said, well, maybe I need power. You don't gain power by stripping someone else's will. Maria covered her face. I didn't mean for her to fall. Davion's voice lowered. She's pregnant. Maria's hands froze mid-air. What? She said she thought she won. The realization hit Maria like something physical. Oh God. Her breathing became shallow. She was carrying... Yes. Silence swallowed them both. The weight of it settled. Not jealousy anymore. Not rivalry. Loss. Maria staggered back until her legs hit the wall. This wasn't supposed to happen, she repeated faintly. You keep saying that, Davion replied, but you made it happen. She slid down slowly, sitting against the wall. I just wanted to be loved. Davion closed his eyes briefly. His voice softened despite everything. We all do. A long pause. Then, quietly, have you ever felt so desperate to be chosen that you stopped caring how you got chosen? His eyes lifted, almost as if he were speaking to someone beyond the room. Have you ever doubted yourself in love, so badly that you almost destroyed something real? What happens when desire turns into obsession? When longing turns into control? When insecurity becomes manipulation? Maria whispered, barely audible. I never meant to hurt anyone. But you did. The front doors burst open. Paramedics rushed in. Voices overlapped. Move back. What happened? Is she breathing? Davion stepped aside slowly. His mind wasn't racing anymore. It was clearing. And clarity hurt more than confusion. He looked at Maria one last time. You didn't just try to control me, he said quietly. You changed the course of 3 lives. Her eyes filled with tears again. And I'd give anything to undo it. He believed her. But belief didn't reverse consequences. As Benit was lifted onto the stretcher, Davion felt something settle inside him. A heavy truth. Love that is forced will always demand payment, and someone always pays. He inhaled slowly. This story, it's not about wealth. It's not about competition. It's about what happens when people confuse possession with love. Stay with me, because what comes next will test forgiveness, loyalty, and the strength of real love. And if this story is already touching something inside you, please take a moment to like this video. It truly helps this message reach more people. And subscribe to Mr. Emmanuel Love Stories and Romance if you believe love should teach us something, not destroy us. We're only at the beginning. Lake Harmony sat quiet that evening, not silent. Just the kind of quiet that comes with money. Large homes lined the private shoreline. Iron gates, trimmed hedges, long driveways curving like they were designed to keep strangers away. The Whitmore estate stood at the far end of the cul-de-sac. White stone, tall windows, balconies overlooking the water, the kind of house people slow their cars for. Davion hadn't been back in 4 years. The black SUV rolled through the gate slowly. The iron bars opened without hesitation. Access had never been his problem. Belonging was. He stared out the window as the tires crunched against gravel. Same fountain in the front, same oak trees, same feeling in his chest. Tight. Well, he muttered under his breath. Home. The word didn't sit right. He stepped out of the vehicle. Cold Chicago air brushed against his face, not freezing, just sharp enough to wake something up inside him. The house lights were already on, every single one. His father liked visibility, no shadows, no mystery, everything illuminated. Davion adjusted his coat and walked toward the entrance. Each step felt heavier than it should have. He paused at the front doors. Large, wooden, polished. He could see his reflection faintly. "You're not a kid anymore," he whispered to himself. "Act like it." The doors opened before he touched them. An older house attendant gave a small nod. "Welcome back, sir." "Sir." He hated that. "Yeah. Thanks." He stepped inside. The marble floors reflected the chandelier light. The scent of expensive cologne lingered faintly in the air. Nothing had changed. That was the problem. He inhaled slowly and exhaled. Lake Harmony looked peaceful. But this house had rules, and Davion had just walked back into them, right on time. The voice came from the study, calm, measured, controlled. Davion closed his eyes briefly before turning toward it. His father stood near the fireplace, one hand inside his tailored suit jacket, the other holding a glass of dark whiskey. Sterling Whitmore, founder of Whitmore National Bank, a man who built financial empires and crushed competitors without raising his voice. "You're early," Davion replied evenly. "I value punctuality." His father took a small sip. No hug, no extended hand, just evaluation. Sterling's eyes moved over Davion slowly, assessing. "You look tired. Long flight, or long decisions." Davion's jaw tightened slightly. "Well, I'm here." Sterling nodded once. "Yes, you are." Silence lingered between them. Not awkward, strategic. "You understand why you're here," Sterling said finally. Davion hesitated. "Do the first." Sterling placed his glass down carefully. "You are 32. You carry my name. You carry my legacy. I carry my own business too." Sterling tilted his head slightly. "Your tech investments are impressive, but legacy isn't built on independence. It's built on alliances." There it was. Davion inhaled slowly. "Just say it." Sterling's voice remained steady. "The engagement needs to move forward." Davion looked away briefly. "So this is about the merger. It is about stability. It's about power." Sterling didn't deny it. A long pause. "You knew her family before I did," Davion said quietly. "Yes. And you decided she was suitable." Sterling nodded. "Daisy Brooks is intelligent, self-made, disciplined. She understands growth. She's not a business contract." "No," Sterling replied calmly. "She's an advantage." Davion's breath slowed. "And what if I don't want to marry for advantage?" Sterling's gaze sharpened. "You don't marry for feelings. Feelings fade. Structure lasts." Davion looked at him for a long moment. "Did you ever love my mother?" Sterling paused. A rare pause. "That is irrelevant." It wasn't irrelevant. It was everything. Davion left the study and walked toward the back balcony overlooking Lake Harmony. The water was still, too still. He leaned against the railing. Daisy. Her name felt steady in his chest. Not chaotic. Not forced. Steady. He had known her since their early 20s. Met her during a charity fundraiser in Atlanta. She had stood out. Not because she tried, but because she didn't. She spoke confidently. Laughed fully. Challenged him directly. She never seemed impressed by his last name. And that had pulled him in. But this arrangement? It complicated things. Did she know how much of this was business? Did she suspect? He rubbed his forehead. The last few days before coming home had been strange. Headaches, restlessness, sudden doubts about her. Doubts that didn't make sense. Why had he questioned her loyalty? Why had he almost cancelled dinner with her last week for no real reason? He exhaled slowly. "I need to talk to her, not as a son, not as an heir, but as a man, still." A small part of him wondered, Would she walk away if she knew the whole truth? And if she did, would he blame her? He swallowed. I don't want to lose her. The wind moved across the lake. Quiet. Cold. Unforgiving. 2 days earlier, downtown Chicago, Daisy's penthouse office overlooked the skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows, warm lighting, minimalist decor. She stood near her desk reviewing campaign metrics when Davion walked in unexpectedly. She didn't look surprised, just raised an eyebrow slightly. Well, this is rare. He offered a small smile. Miss me? I don't miss people who don't call. Ouch. He stepped closer. We need to talk. That usually means something's wrong. He hesitated. Daisy, my father wants the engagement announced sooner. Her expression didn't change. And, what do you want? There it was, always direct. I want us, he said quietly. That's not what I asked. He looked down briefly. It strengthens both families. She exhaled slowly. So it is business. It's not only business, but it is. Her voice didn't rise, didn't shake, just steady. Davion, I built Brooks Creative from scratch. I didn't need your last name. I don't need your father's approval. I know that. Then why does this feel like a transaction? He stepped closer. It's not. Then say it clearly. He swallowed. I love you. She held his gaze. A long pause. Do you? The question hit deeper than he expected. You don't trust me? She shook her head slightly. It's not about trust. It's about clarity. He reached for her hand. She let him, but she didn't squeeze back. If we do this, she continued softly, it's because we choose each other, not because your father decided it looks good on paper. He nodded. Agreed, but even as he said it, there was hesitation inside him. And she felt it, back at Lake Harmony. The first evening, Davion entered the dining hall. Several staff members were already preparing the table. Silverware aligned perfectly, crystal glasses gleaming. Benit stood near the far end, adjusting a floral centerpiece, her posture straight, her presence noticeable. When she turned and saw him, something shifted in her expression. Not surprise, recognition. Well, welcome back, she said softly. Her voice was smooth, confident. Davion gave a small nod. Good to see you. Her eyes lingered a second longer than necessary. Maria entered shortly after, carrying a tray of folded napkins. She paused when she saw him. Oh, you're here. Her tone carried warmth, different from Benit's steady confidence, more hopeful. Davion looked between them briefly. The tension was subtle, but it was there. Benit adjusted the flowers again. Maria placed the napkins down carefully. Neither woman spoke, but the air shifted slightly. Davion felt it, didn't understand it yet, but he felt it. The staff finished setting the table and quietly exited. Benit lingered for a moment. If you need anything, sir, just ask. Sir, again. He nodded once. Thank you. Maria watched from the doorway, something unreadable in her eyes. As Davion sat down alone at the long dining table, he exhaled slowly. This house had always been controlled, predictable, structured, but tonight, there was something different. A quiet tension under the surface, like everyone was waiting. And Davion had no idea that the choices made inside this house would soon cost far more than reputation. Before Lake Harmony, before marble floors, before chandeliers and whispered competition, there was Atlanta, West Side. Not the polished Buckhead Atlanta people post online. Not rooftop brunches and luxury condos. Real West Side. Benit grew up in a small brick duplex off Joseph E. Boone Boulevard. Sirens were normal background noise. So were arguments drifting through thin apartment walls. So was the sound of someone hustling because rent didn't wait. Her grandmother raised her. Baby, her grandmother used to say, tying her headscarf in the kitchen mirror, life don't hand you nothing but lessons. Benit would sit at the tiny kitchen table, swinging her legs. What if I don't want lessons? She'd mumble. Her grandmother would chuckle softly. Well, Then you better get ready to repeat the class. They didn't have much. Second-hand furniture, cracked linoleum floors, an old fan that rattled when it rotated. But they had discipline. Benit learned early. You wake up early. You don't complain. You make yourself valuable. At 14, she was already working part-time at a local beauty supply store after school. At 16, she was helping her grandmother with bills. At 18, she understood something most girls her age didn't. Security matters more than romance. One night, sitting on the small porch steps, she watched a couple across the street argue loudly. The man stormed off. The woman cried into her hands. Benit stared quietly. "I'm not doing that," she whispered to herself. She wasn't going to beg. She wasn't going to chase. She wasn't going to cry in public over a man who couldn't provide peace. Westside taught her one thing clearly: love is nice. Stability is necessary, and she promised herself she would never be desperate, even if she was tired. Sundays were sacred. Small Baptist church on Simpson Street. White walls. Brown wooden pews. A choir that sang like they were reaching for something bigger than the ceiling. Benit grew up in those pews. White dress, braids neat, hands folded. The pastor would preach about faith, patience, waiting on God's timing. "Don't force what isn't meant for you," he'd say. Benit listened, but even at 16, something inside her would whisper back, "Waiting doesn't pay bills." After service, the women would gather outside, laughing, discussing husbands, children, blessings. "Your time will come, baby," one of the older women once told her. Benit smiled politely. Yeah. But inside, she wasn't sure. She had watched too many women pray for men who never changed. She had seen too many mothers stay because they were afraid to leave. Her grandmother believed in grace. Benit believed in preparation. Still, church gave her softness. It gave her posture. It gave her belief that love could be sacred. She just wasn't sure sacred love ever showed up for girls from her block. Sometimes at night she would kneel beside her bed. "God, if you're listening, just don't let me struggle forever. Pause. And don't let me fall for somebody who can't carry me forward." She didn't ask for a prince. She asked for relief. There's a difference. Her first serious boyfriend was at 19. A charming mechanic named Terence. Tall, smooth talker, always smelling like engine oil and cologne. He promised things, big things. "I'm going to open my own shop one day," he'd say, leaning against her grandmother's fence. "And when I do, you won't have to work so hard." Benit believed him. For a while, until she started noticing inconsistencies. Late nights, missed calls, excuses. One evening, she confronted him. "You said you were working late." "I was." "At the club?" He laughed lightly. "Don't start." She felt that tightness in her chest. The same one she would feel years later in Lake Harmony. "You think I'm stupid?" "No. I think you overthink." He cheated. Multiple times. When she found out, she didn't scream, didn't cry publicly. She simply said, "I deserve better," and walked away. But walking away hurt. It wasn't the betrayal alone. It was the realization that promises are cheap. After Terence came Marcus, more stable, more mature, or so she thought. He didn't cheat. He just couldn't commit. "I'm not ready," he'd say. "How long does ready take?" She'd ask quietly. He didn't have an answer. Years passed. Benit watched friends get engaged, baby showers, wedding photos, and every time she smiled and clapped, something inside her whispered, "Why not me?" One night, alone in her small apartment in Atlanta before she moved north for work, she stared at her reflection. Am I asking for too much? Silence. Or am I just picking wrong? Her chest tightened. She was tired of investing emotion and walking away empty-handed. Tired of building men who never built her back. And that's when a thought began forming quietly. Maybe love isn't something you wait for. Maybe it's something you secure. Benit didn't move to Chicago chasing romance. She moved chasing opportunity. A domestic staffing agency connected her to the Whitmore estate. high pay, private quarters, stable income, security. She accepted immediately. Lake Harmony was nothing like West Atlanta. The silence felt heavy at first. No loud neighbors, no music blasting from passing cars, no corner stores with familiar faces, just manicured lawns and distant waves touching the lake. Her first night in the mansion quarters, she sat on the bed quietly. This is temporary, she told herself. Temporary until she saved enough. Temporary until she built something bigger. But working inside wealth changes you. You see how power moves, how decisions are made, how men like Sterling Whitmore never worry about rent, never check price tags, never beg. And something shifted inside her. Why should I only serve this life, she whispered one evening, when I could step into it. She wasn't naive. She knew her position, but she also knew her value. She carried herself differently from other staff. Not arrogant, but aware. She wasn't just a maid. She was a woman who understood what she brought into a room. And when Davion walked back into Lake Harmony, tall, controlled, heir to everything she had watched from a distance, she felt something stir. Not just attraction, possibility. And that scared her. Because possibility makes you bold, and bold choices carry risk. The first night he returned, when she adjusted the flowers and said, "Welcome back," something in his eyes lingered on her. It wasn't lust. It wasn't disrespect. It was curiosity. She noticed it. And she didn't ignore it. Later that evening, alone in her quarters, she sat on the edge of her bed. "Don't start," she muttered to herself. But her mind replayed the way his voice softened slightly when he thanked her. He wasn't like her past. He wasn't struggling. He wasn't unsure. He wasn't asking her to wait for potential. He was potential. Stability, legacy, escape. She leaned back against the wall. Am the first wrong? Silence. Or am I just tired of losing? Her throat tightened. She thought of her grandmother's tired hands, of Terence's lies, of Marcus's indecision, of watching life move forward for everyone else. "I don't want to fight anymore," she whispered. But she knew something else too. He had a fiancée, Daisy Brooks, successful, elegant, powerful in her own right. Benit had seen her once during a brief visit months earlier. Graceful, confident, not desperate. Benit inhaled slowly. So, what am I doing? She wasn't evil. She wasn't reckless. She was tired. Tired of watching opportunity pass because she played fair. Tired of being the strong one who always walked away. But this wasn't just flirtation. This was a line. And she knew it. She closed her eyes. If he chooses me, then it's fate. Pause. But if I help him see me, her chest tightened. That was where danger lived. Not in hatred, not in revenge, but in justification. She lay back fully, staring at the ceiling. Am I wrong, or am I just tired of losing? The question echoed in her mind, and the answer was about to change everything. Before Lake Harmony, before the Whitmore estate, before ambition turned desperate, there was Houston. South Park area, hot pavement, corner stores with barred windows, music always playing somewhere, bass vibrating through apartment walls. Maria grew up in a small two-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. Her mother worked double shifts at a diner near Old Spanish Trail. Her father left before she turned 8. No dramatic exit, no screaming goodbye. He just stopped coming home. Maria didn't remember his voice clearly anymore. What she remembered was her neighborhood, kids running between buildings, basketball games on cracked courts, barbecue smoke floating through humid air. She was usually the only white girl on her block. At first, she didn't notice. Kids don't measure difference until someone points it out. But around middle school, it changed. "Why you talk like that?" one girl asked her once. "Like what?" "Like us." Maria shrugged. "Because I grew up here?" The girl rolled her eyes. "You ain't from here." But she was. She knew the slang, the music, the rhythms of conversation. She knew when to say, "uh-huh," instead of "yes," She knew when to laugh loud and when to stay quiet. Still, she always felt watched, not bullied, not fully accepted, just noticed, different. Her mother would brush her hair at night and say, "Don't let anybody tell you where you belong." Maria would nod. But inside she wondered, where did she belong? Too white for some, too urban for others. She learned to adapt quickly, smile the right way, speak the right tone, blend when necessary. But blending isn't belonging, it's survival. And survival leaves small cracks. High school made everything sharper. When Maria visited relatives in a mostly white suburb outside Houston, she felt out of place. "You've changed," her cousin once said. "How? You don't talk like us." Maria hesitated. "Like what? Like you're from here?" She laughed it off, but it stayed with her. Back in her own neighborhood, some boys teased her playfully. "You think you black now?" She'd roll her eyes. "I think I'm Maria." But even that answer felt incomplete. At 16, she stood in front of her mirror, studying herself. Light skin, soft brown hair, eyes that didn't match the girls she grew up with. "Who am I supposed to be?" she whispered. Her voice didn't sound confident. She wasn't ashamed of where she grew up. She loved her block, the food, the laughter, the loudness of family cookouts. But she felt suspended between worlds. When she tried too hard to fit into white spaces, she felt fake. When she leaned into the culture she grew up in, some people questioned her authenticity. "You trying too hard," someone once told her. Trying too hard to what? Exist? Belong? Be accepted? Identity confusion isn't loud. It's subtle. It's that moment when you pause before speaking because you're calculating how it will land. It's that quiet thought. If I act like this, will I still be welcome? By the time she turned 20, Maria had mastered the art of adjustment. She could shift tone, shift posture, shift energy. But inside, there was always that lingering question. Where do I fit? And unanswered questions can turn into quiet desperation over time. Being in between means you're rarely chosen first. Maria noticed that early. In school dances, boys would flirt, laugh, tease. But when it came time to define something serious, they chose someone else. "You're cool," one guy told her once. "But I don't think my family would get it." Get what? Her background? Her speech? Her identity? She didn't ask. She just nodded. It's fine. It wasn't fine. But she never wanted to look needy. That word haunted her, needy. So she became agreeable, supportive, low maintenance, the kind of woman men felt comfortable around. But comfort is not commitment. In her early 20s, she dated a man who praised her constantly. "You're different," he'd say. Different. Again. He loved her energy, her loyalty, her softness. But when his friends questioned their relationship, he pulled back. "I just don't want drama," he told her. "Am I drama?" She asked quietly. He didn't answer directly, and that silence told her enough. After that breakup, Maria sat alone in her car outside her apartment for almost an hour, just breathing. "Why am I always almost enough?" she whispered. In between doesn't scream. It lingers. It makes you doubt your reflection. It makes you overanalyze every interaction. It makes you fear that you're someone people enjoy temporarily, but never permanently. And over time, that fear starts shaping decisions. When Maria moved to Chicago for work, she told herself it was a reset. New city, new energy, no old narratives. The Whitmore estate offered stability, good pay, clear structure, predictability. She liked predictability, but predictability doesn't fill emotional gaps. The first time she saw Davion at Lake Harmony years ago, during a brief holiday visit before he moved away, she felt something immediate. He was calm, grounded, confident without arrogance. He didn't shift himself to impress people. He simply existed, and people adjusted around him. That kind of presence feels powerful to someone who has always adjusted. When he returned this time, permanently, something inside her stirred again. Not childish infatuation, something deeper. Maybe this is it, she whispered to herself that first night. Maybe she wouldn't be in between here. Maybe she would be chosen. Not second. Not almost. Chosen. But there was a problem. Daisy Brooks. Maria had seen her once. Elegant. Composed. Successful. A woman who didn't need validation to stand tall. Maria felt small next to that. She hated that feeling. She told herself she wasn't competing. But when she noticed the way Davion's voice softened slightly when Daisy's name came up during a phone call one evening, her chest tightened. "Well, what about me?" she muttered quietly later in her room. That wasn't jealousy. That was longing. Longing to be prioritized. Longing to not feel secondary, and longing, when left unchecked, becomes hunger. Maria and Benit stood in the same kitchen at Lake Harmony, wore similar uniforms, performed similar tasks, but their motivations were not the same. Benit saw Davion as security, stability, an exit from struggle, a life she could step into with strength. Her desire came from survival. Maria's desire came from identity. Benit thought, "This is opportunity." Maria thought, "This is validation." Benit wanted elevation. Maria wanted affirmation. One evening, while polishing silverware, Maria glanced at Benit across the counter. "You think he'll stay long?" she asked casually. Benit didn't look up. "He owns this place." "That's not what I meant." A pause. "Well, men always leave eventually," Benit replied quietly. Maria swallowed. "Yeah, but Maria didn't want eventual. She wanted permanent." Later that night, alone, she stared at the ceiling of her small staff room. "I don't want to be almost again." Her voice cracked slightly. "I don't want to be the girl he talks to when he's bored. I don't want to be the backup." Silence. "If I don't fight this time, I lose again." And that thought, that fear of being invisible one more time, pushed her toward decisions she never imagined making. Because when someone feels unseen long enough, they start trying to control the spotlight, and that is where everything began to shift. The tension didn't explode overnight. It built, slowly, quietly. The first shift happened in the kitchen. Davion had come in late one evening, loosening his tie, looking exhausted. Benit stood near the counter preparing tea. "You look tired," she said, not looking directly at him at first. "Long calls," he replied. "With her?" He paused. "With my father." A small silence. She handed him the cup. Their fingers brushed. Not dramatic, not obvious, but intentional. Davion felt it. A warmth that lingered longer than it should have. Benit didn't pull away immediately. Just a second, too long. Her eyes lifted to his. Steady. He cleared his throat softly. "Thanks." "Of course." Maria was in the doorway, watching. She stepped forward quickly. "I made chamomile earlier," she said lightly. "It helps with stress." Benit didn't react outwardly, but her jaw tightened slightly. Davion looked between them. Thank you." "I'm good," Maria nodded, but she moved closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume. Soft, sweet. "I can stay if you want company," she offered. Benit spoke before he answered. "He probably needs quiet." Their eyes met, polite smiles, not polite energy. Davion felt something shift in the room. A subtle pressure, not open conflict, but territory. And he didn't understand why his pulse had started to quicken. 2 nights later, dinner was served formally, Sterling at the head of the table. Davion seated to his right. Benit stood behind Davion's chair, refilling his water occasionally. Maria positioned across the table near the wine. Every time Davion lifted his eyes, someone was already looking at him. Bennett's gaze was direct, unapologetic. Maria's was softer, questioning. At one point, Davion reached for his glass at the same moment Bennet leaned in to adjust it. Their faces were closer than expected. Breath mingled. He felt her inhale slightly. A pause. She didn't step back immediately. "Sorry," she murmured quietly. "It's fine," but neither moved. Sterling cleared his throat. Bennet straightened quickly. Maria's eyes darkened just slightly. Later, as the table cleared, Maria approached Davion in the hallway. "You okay?" she asked softly. "Yeah. You seem distracted." He hesitated. "Do the first?" A little." She stepped closer, close enough that he felt her presence fully. "If you ever need someone to talk to," she added gently, "I'm here." Bennet watched from the far end of the corridor. The air felt charged. Davion swallowed. "I appreciate that, but why did his thoughts feel slower? Why did conversations feel heavier than usual?" He shook his head slightly, as if clearing fog. It didn't fully work. It began subtly. Bennet started asking deeper questions. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's plan?" she asked one evening while folding laundry in the sitting room. Davion paused. "What do you mean?" She shrugged lightly. "Like, sometimes expectations feel heavier than your own desires." He leaned back slowly. "That's specific." She gave a small half smile. "Just something I've noticed about powerful families." His jaw tightened. "My father believes in structure. And what do you believe in?" He hesitated. "Choice. Then choose." Her words lingered. Maria approached differently. She leaned into vulnerability. "I used to feel invisible growing up," she admitted one afternoon while organizing books in the library as Davion reviewed documents nearby. "Invisible?" "Yeah. Like, no matter what I did, I was almost enough." Her voice softened. "I hate that feeling." Davion looked up. "I'm sure you weren't invisible." She gave a faint smile. "Feels like it sometimes." He felt sympathy rise in his chest. Bennet offered empowerment. Maria offered fragility. Both reached him, in different ways, and his thoughts began to blur. He found himself replaying their conversations late at night, second-guessing Daisy's steady confidence, questioning whether calm love meant less passion. "Why am I doubting her?" he muttered once alone in his room. No answer came, only restlessness. The first real confrontation happened in the laundry wing. Maria closed the door firmly behind her. "You're doing too much," she said quietly. Bennet didn't look up. "Doing what?" "You know exactly what." Bennet folded a towel slowly. If a man responds to attention, that's his choice. Maria stepped closer. "You think this is a game?" "No," Bennet replied calmly. "I think this is life." He's engaged. And Maria's breath hitched. "And that should matter." Benet's eyes finally lifted. "Does it matter to him?" Silence. Maria's voice dropped. "You're not the only one who sees opportunity, and you're not the only one who wants to be seen." The air thickened. "You don't even love him," Maria accused. Benet's expression hardened slightly. "Love grows. With money?" "With stability," Bennet corrected. Maria shook her head. "So this is about escape?" Bennet inhaled slowly. "Don't judge what you haven't lived." Maria's eyes glistened slightly. "I've lived enough." "Then stop pretending you're innocent in this." The tension didn't explode. It simmered. Two women. Two motivations. One man. And Davion was already losing clarity. The fog didn't announce itself. It crept in. Davion began waking up with dull headaches. Not sharp, just constant. He found himself standing in rooms and forgetting why he entered, forgetting small details. Daisy's last text message sat unread longer than usual. He would start typing replies, then delete them, unsure why. One evening, Bennet brought him a glass of water after noticing him rubbing his temples. "You should rest," she said softly. Her hand brushed his shoulder gently. He didn't pull away. Her touch lingered. Warm, grounded. He exhaled slowly. Everything feels off lately. In what way? Like I'm not fully here. She stepped closer. You're here. Her voice lowered slightly. I see you. His chest tightened. Maria, later that night, knocked softly on his door. Can we talk? He hesitated. Yeah. She stepped inside. Not too close. But close enough. I don't like seeing you stressed, she said. Her voice trembled slightly. You deserve peace. He studied her face. Sincere. Open. Why did everything feel amplified lately? Why did proximity feel electric? At one point, Maria reached out instinctively and touched his arm. A simple gesture, but his breath caught. He didn't understand why. His mind felt cloudy, his emotions heightened. When he closed his eyes that night, he saw flashes. Benit's steady gaze, Maria's vulnerable expression, Daisy's confident posture, his father's expectations. And somewhere inside, a question echoed quietly. Am I choosing, or am I being pulled? The competition had begun. Not loud, not obvious, but powerful, and Davion didn't realize yet that his confusion wasn't entirely natural. Rain started before she left Lake Harmony. Not a storm, just steady, cold, relentless. Maria sat in her car outside a small brick building on the south side of Chicago, near 79th Street. Her fingers gripped the steering wheel tightly. This is crazy, she muttered. She could still turn back, still pretend she never looked up the address, still act like she was above this. But the image of Davion standing too close to Benit in the hallway replayed in her mind. The way his voice softened slightly. The way he seemed pulled. I'm not losing again, she whispered. She stepped out of the car. Rain soaked her coat almost immediately. The building had no sign, just a narrow door and one dim porch light flickering faintly. Inside, the air smelled like herbs and something older. Not unpleasant, just heavy. A faint rhythmic drum beat echoed from somewhere in the back. Slow, steady, like a heartbeat. An elderly woman sat behind a wooden table covered in candles and small jars. Mama Solis. Her eyes lifted slowly when Maria entered. You came, she said calmly. Maria swallowed. Yeah, you've been thinking about this for days. Maria hesitated. Maybe. Mama Solis studied her face. You're not here for money. No. You're here for a man. Silence. Maria's throat tightened. Yes. The drum beat continued faintly. Rain tapped against the windows. Mama Solis leaned back slightly. Sit. Maria obeyed. Her hands trembled slightly as she rested them on her lap. I just need help, she said quietly. Help doing what? Making him see me. Mama Solis's eyes sharpened slightly. See you, or choose you. Maria looked down. Choose me. The drums continued, slow, measured. Mama Solis nodded once. Then you're not asking for love. Maria looked up quickly. I am. No. Mama Solis replied calmly. You're asking for control. The word stung. Maria inhaled sharply. Well, if he chooses me, isn't that love? Not if his mind isn't clear. Silence. Rain grew heavier. Maria's chest tightened. I'm tired, she whispered. I'm tired of being almost enough. Mama Solis's expression softened slightly. But almost enough is still choice. Maria shook her head. No, it's losing. Mama Solis stood slowly and walked toward a small shelf lined with bottles and cloth pouches. You don't understand what you're asking, she said quietly. Then explain it. Mama Solis turned. You want his thoughts to bend. Maria nodded slowly. Just a little. There is no little when it comes to influence. I don't want to hurt him. You already are, Mama Solis replied evenly. Maria's breath caught. I haven't done anything yet. You're preparing to... Silence. The drum beat stopped briefly, then resumed. Softer now. Mama Solis stepped closer. Why him? Maria hesitated. He's stable, calm, certain. He doesn't doubt himself, and you want to anchor yourself to that certainty. Maria's eyes filled slightly. Yes, Mama Solis's voice lowered. Do you love him? Maria opened her mouth, closed it. I think I could. That's not the same. Maria's voice rose slightly. I just need him to look at me the way he looks at her. And if he doesn't, she didn't answer. Mama Solis leaned closer. You think love forced will feel satisfying? Maria whispered. It will feel chosen. The older woman studied her carefully. You are not asking for romance, she said softly. You are asking for victory. Maria flinched. I'm asking not to lose. Silence. Mama Solis nodded slowly. There will be a price. Maria swallowed. What kind of price? One you cannot predict. Her voice did not shake. It did not dramatize. It simply stated. Maria's breathing quickened slightly. Well, what exactly happens? Mama Solis reached into a drawer and pulled out a small cloth pouch tied with red thread. This will cloud him. Maria's eyes widened slightly. Cloud. He will feel uncertain, drawn, emotionally open to suggestion. And that's it? Mama Solis paused. No. Maria's stomach tightened. What else? The energy you send out does not disappear. Rain hit the windows harder. It reacts. Reacts how? Mama Solis held her gaze. If another woman cleanses him fully, bathes him with intention, the hold breaks. Maria blinked. Bathes him. Yes. And if it breaks, the energy will release. To where? Mama Solis didn't answer immediately. That depends on who is closest when it snaps. Maria's pulse pounded in her ears. You're saying someone could get hurt? I'm saying you cannot control outcomes once you begin. Silence filled the room. The drumbeat slowed. Mama Solis extended the pouch. Last chance to walk away. Maria stared at it, her mind racing, her heart louder than the rain. If I don't do this, she whispered, he chooses her. Mama Solis didn't respond. That silence felt like judgment. Maria reached forward slowly. Her fingers brushed the pouch. She hesitated. Will he know? Not immediately. Will he still be himself? Mama Solis's eyes darkened slightly. Not fully. That should have been enough to stop her. It wasn't. Maria clutched the pouch now. Her voice was quieter. Tell me again. Mama Solis spoke slowly. You will place this where he rests. Near him. Maria nodded faintly. It will soften his boundaries. And if she touches him, touching is not cleansing. Maria swallowed. So what is? Mama Solis's voice lowered further. If another woman washes him with care, water and intention, fully the influence dissolves. Maria's mind flashed briefly to Daisy. Strong, self-assured. Would she ever do something that intimate? Her chest tightened. And when it dissolves, Mama Solis's tone sharpened slightly. It will release force. Force? Yes. Maria's breathing grew uneven. How strong? Strong enough. Silence. Maria's thoughts collided. So, if I'm near him when it breaks, you could absorb consequences. And if someone else is? Mama Solis didn't answer directly. You are altering balance. Balance always returns. Rain thundered now. The drums stopped completely. Maria's heart pounded loudly. I just want him to see me. Mama Solis's voice softened. Then let him choose freely. Maria shook her head. That hasn't worked. And this might cost you more than losing. Maria stared at the pouch again. Her reflection flickered in a candle beside her. She looked unsure, young, fragile. Is there any way to make it permanent? She asked quietly. Mama Solis's expression hardened. No. Then, what's the point? The point, Mama Solis replied firmly, is that control is temporary. Silence swallowed the room. Maria stood near the door, the pouch tucked inside her coat pocket. Her hand rested over it. She could still leave it here, still walk away, still choose dignity. She closed her eyes briefly. Am I really about to do this? Her voice trembled. Memories flooded in. Being almost chosen. Being the girl men leaned on but didn't claim. Being second. Being invisible. I don't want invisible again. She stepped back toward Mama Solis. What if I regret it? You will, Mama Solis said plainly. Maria's throat tightened. But regret and reversal are not the same. Maria inhaled slowly. And you won't undo it. I do not undo choices. Silence. Rain softened slightly now. Maria's breathing steadied. If I don't try, I lose. Her voice cracked on the last word. Mama Solis studied her. Sometimes losing protects you. Maria shook her head. Not this time. She turned toward the door. Hand on the knob. Paused. He won't hate me, right? Mama Solis's voice floated behind her. That depends on what he discovers. Maria's fingers tightened. She didn't look back. She stepped into the rain. Davion didn't sleep peacefully. His dreams felt heavy, fragmented. He turned once, then again, his chest rising deeper than usual. Down the hallway, Benit stepped out of her room to get water. That's what she told herself. Just water. She walked quietly toward the kitchen. But the house felt different tonight, thicker. Like the air had weight. She paused at the staircase. Her eyes lifted toward the upper floor, toward his room. Her heart skipped. Don't, she whispered to herself. But her feet didn't immediately move away. She had noticed it earlier, the way his eyes lingered longer lately, the way he seemed distracted, open, and tonight, something in her chest felt restless. She turned toward the stairs slowly. Just to check on him, she muttered. She knocked lightly. No answer. She opened the door slightly. Davion? He was sitting up now on the edge of his bed, breathing unevenly. He looked flushed. Are you okay? She asked, stepping inside. He ran a hand over his face. I don't know. His voice sounded deeper, slower. My head feels heavy. She closed the door gently behind her. Maybe you're overwhelmed. Maybe. Silence. She stepped closer, close enough to see the faint tension in his jaw. You don't look like yourself lately, she said softly. He looked up at her. Their eyes locked. Too long. Too intense. Do I look different? He asked quietly. Yes. How? More honest. The word hung between them. His breathing shifted slightly. She stepped closer again. Now she was standing right in front of him. He didn't move back. Her hand lifted slowly, paused mid-air. Can I? He didn't answer with words. His eyes dropped to her lips. That was enough. Her fingers touched his cheek lightly. Warm skin. He inhaled sharply. Something inside him felt unsteady. Benit. Her name left his mouth softer than it ever had before. That sound did something to her. Her heart pounded. She leaned closer, their foreheads nearly touching. You don't have to carry everything alone, she whispered. His breath brushed her face. I feel like I'm losing control, he admitted. Then let go, she replied quietly. That should have been the moment he stepped away. It wasn't. His hand moved to her waist. Slow, at first. Testing. She didn't stop him. The tension snapped. Not gently, not thoughtfully. Impulsive. His lips found hers suddenly. Not calculated. Not slow. Hungry. Like something had been building for days and finally broke. Benit gasped softly against him. Her hands gripped his shirt instinctively. The kiss deepened quickly. He pulled her closer. Too close. His thoughts felt blurry, clouded. A voice in the back of his mind whispered something about Daisy, about promises, but it sounded distant, muted. Benit felt heat surge through her chest. This wasn't soft. This wasn't patient. This was release. She pushed him gently backward onto the bed. He didn't resist. He pulled her down with him. Breathing grew heavier. Faster. Their hands moved urgently, not exploring carefully, claiming, like both of them were afraid the moment might disappear. "Are you sure?" she asked breathlessly, but her body didn't pull away. He nodded quickly. Yes. The word came too fast, too certain. He wasn't thinking clearly. He wasn't weighing consequences. He was reacting to closeness, to warmth, to confusion. The night swallowed the rest. Not romance, not tenderness, just heat, just urgency, just two people colliding because restraint had weakened. Minutes passed, or maybe longer. It felt distorted. When it was over, the silence was different. He lay there staring at the ceiling, breathing slowly returning, reality creeping in. "What did we just do?" he murmured faintly. Benit turned her head slightly toward him, her heart still racing. "You wanted me," she said quietly. He swallowed. "Did I?" That question landed heavier than either expected. She propped herself up slightly. "You kissed me." He closed his eyes briefly. "I don't feel right." Her chest tightened. Regret flickered across his face. She didn't want to see that. "This doesn't have to be a mistake," she said softly. He sat up slowly, ran both hands over his face again. "I need air." He stood and walked toward the window. Rain streaked down the glass. His reflection looked unfamiliar. Benit watched him carefully. Her emotions were mixed. Triumph, fear, possibility. "Are you okay?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. "I don't know." Silence stretched between them. Then he spoke again. "Don't tell anyone." Her stomach tightened. Of course. He didn't look at her. That hurt more than she expected. She stood slowly, adjusted her clothing. For a moment, she considered saying something deeper, something emotional, but she didn't. Instead, she whispered, "It wasn't nothing." He didn't respond. She walked toward the door, paused. "Good night, Davion." He remained at the window. The rain kept falling. Downstairs, somewhere in the house, the faint drumbeat seemed to echo again, low, slow, and in the darkness of his room, Davion pressed his palm against the cool glass. "I don't feel like myself," he whispered. And he wasn't. 3 days after that night with Benit, Davion couldn't breathe properly in his own house. Not physically, emotionally. He would start sentences and forget where they were going. He avoided mirrors. He avoided thinking. Benit moved through the halls differently now. Not openly possessive, but softer, closer, as if something unspoken connected them. Maria watched everything. And Davion, he felt heavier. He sat in his study staring at his phone. Daisy's name at the top of the screen. Missed calls. Unread messages. He typed, "We need to talk." Deleted it. Typed again, "I'm coming over." Sent. His head throbbed. His chest felt tight. "I don't feel right," he muttered to himself. Was it guilt? Was it stress? Or something else? He stood abruptly and grabbed his keys. The drive from Lake Harmony to downtown Chicago felt longer than usual. Streetlights blurred slightly as he blinked harder than normal. His thoughts were scattered. Benit's voice. Maria's softness. His father's pressure. Daisy's steady gaze. Why did everything feel amplified? When he reached Daisy's high-rise, he didn't call first. He just went up. She opened the door slowly. She wasn't smiling. "Well," she said quietly, folding her arms slightly. "This is unexpected." He looked at her, really looked at her. Strong posture, calm eyes, powerful in her stillness. And suddenly, he felt small. "I need help," he said. She studied him. "With what?" "I don't know what's happening to me." Silence. "Come in." He stepped inside. The door closed behind him. And for the first time in days, the air felt lighter. But the tension between them? That was just beginning. Daisy didn't move further into the apartment. She stood near the entryway, arms folded loosely, not defensive, but guarded. "You look exhausted," she said quietly. "I am." "From work?" He hesitated. Not just work. Silence settled between them. Not hostile, but sharp. You've been distant, she continued. And don't tell me I'm imagining it. I'm not saying that. Then say what it is. He ran a hand over his face. I don't feel like myself. That's vague. I know. She stepped closer. Close enough to search his expression. Did something happen at Lake Harmony? He looked at her. His throat tightened. Images flickered. Benit's hands, the rain on the window, the impulsive kiss. His stomach dropped. I don't know, he answered finally. That's not an answer. Her voice wasn't raised. That made it worse. You've been questioning us, she said softly, pulling back, looking at me like you're unsure. I'm not unsure about you. Then why does it feel like I'm losing you? The words landed hard. He swallowed. I would never choose someone over you. Someone, not her name, but she heard it. Is there someone? She asked. The room felt smaller suddenly. He looked away briefly. I've been confused. Confused how? I've been feeling things that don't make sense, doubts that aren't logical, about me. Yes, no, I mean, he exhaled sharply. It's not about you. It's like my head isn't clear. She watched him carefully. You don't get unclear about love overnight, Davion. I know. Then what changed? He couldn't answer that. Because he didn't fully know. Or maybe he did, but it sounded irrational. Daisy, he said finally, stepping closer. I wake up feeling heavy. I walk into rooms and forget why I'm there. I almost cancelled dinner with you last week for no reason. Her expression shifted slightly. Concern replacing irritation. That's not like you. I know. He ran both hands through his hair. And I did something I shouldn't have. Silence. Her body stilled. What does that mean? He looked at her, struggled. I haven't been thinking straight. That's not what I asked. Her voice trembled slightly now. Not loud, but vulnerable. He stepped closer again. I didn't plan anything. I didn't think anything through. It just happened. Her eyes searched his face. You crossed a line. He didn't respond immediately. That silence told her everything. She turned away, walked toward the large window overlooking the Chicago skyline. He watched her shoulders rise and fall slowly. Well, she said after a long pause, at least you're honest. He stepped closer behind her. I don't even recognize myself right now. That doesn't excuse it. I'm not excusing it. She turned suddenly. You let someone else touch you. The words were calm, but sharp. He flinched. Yes. Her jaw tightened. Was it emotional? He hesitated. I don't know. That's worse. He exhaled heavily. It didn't feel like me. Then who did it feel like? He didn't answer. Because he didn't have one. Silence stretched. She studied him again, really studied him. You look off, she said quietly. Your eyes. They don't look steady. I told you. Something's wrong. You think you're under pressure? No, he said firmly. This is different. She stepped closer again. Close enough that their chests were almost touching. You're either lying to me, she said softly, or you're unraveling. He shook his head. I would never lie to you, but you already did. That hurt. He swallowed hard. I came here because I didn't want to keep drifting. Drifting? Yes. Her eyes softened slightly. You still want this? She asked quietly. With you? Yes. He didn't hesitate this time. Yes. The certainty in that answer felt real. She saw it, but she wasn't fully convinced yet. You don't get to come here broken and expect me to fix you, she said gently. I'm not asking you to fix me. What are you asking? He stepped even closer. I need you. The words weren't dramatic. They were heavy. She inhaled slowly. Needing and loving are not the same. I love you. Her breath caught. Say it again. I love you. This time, steadier, clearer. She studied him, searching for fog, searching for doubt. She found something else instead. Fear. You look scared, she whispered. I am, of losing me. Yes. That answer was immediate and true. She reached up slowly, placed her hand against his chest. His heart was racing. Why didn't you tell me sooner that something felt wrong? I didn't know how. She nodded faintly. Silence. Their foreheads nearly touched now. I'm angry, she admitted quietly. I know. I'm hurt. I know. But I also see something's off. He closed his eyes briefly. Please don't walk away. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she studied his breathing, the tension in his jaw, the slight tremor in his hands. This isn't just guilt, she said softly. You feel displaced. Yes. She stepped back slightly. Come with me. He followed without question. Toward the hallway, toward her bedroom, but not for passion, not yet. For clarity, for confrontation's final step. The tension hadn't dissolved. It had shifted from accusation to something deeper and fragile. Daisy didn't lead him to the bedroom. She led him to the bathroom. Soft lighting, warm marble, steam already beginning to rise as she turned the shower on. Davion stood near the doorway, confused. What are you doing? She didn't look at him immediately. You said you don't feel like yourself. I don't. Then we start there. She stepped closer to him slowly, not seductively, deliberately. You feel heavy, she said, like something is sitting on you. He swallowed. Yes. Then, let it go. I don't know how. Her voice softened. Stop fighting it. The water ran steadily now. Warm. Consistent. She reached for his tie. Her fingers moved slowly as she loosened it. He didn't stop her. His breathing deepened. This isn't about desire, she said quietly. This is about grounding you. Her hands slid to the buttons of his shirt. One by one. He watched her face. Not lust. Focus. Care. Intent. You're shaking, she whispered. I feel unsteady. She nodded faintly. That's okay. The shirt fell away. She placed her palm flat against his chest again, right over his heart. Breathe. He inhaled. Exhaled. Slower this time. She stepped back toward the shower and reached for his hand. Come here. The steam wrapped around them. Warmth, replacing tension. He stepped under the water, closed his eyes. The first splash against his skin made him inhale sharply. Stay with me, she said softly. I'm here. She moved closer. Her hands guided his shoulders gently, not hurried, not urgent. She tilted his face upward slightly. Let the water run over him. Clear your head, she murmured. He leaned forward slightly, forehead almost touching hers. I messed up, he whispered. Yes, she replied calmly. I don't know why I did. Maybe you weren't fully present. The water continued running. Steady. Her hands moved slowly over his shoulders. Grounding, intentional, not claiming, caring. His breathing began to slow. The tightness in his chest eased slightly. Look at me, she said quietly. He opened his eyes. Steam blurred the room, but her gaze was sharp, focused. You are not weak, she said. You are not lost, but you will not hide from what you did. He nodded faintly. I won't. You want clarity? Yes. Then choose it. Her hand slid to the back of his neck gently. He leaned into her touch instinctively. The connection felt different from the night with Benit. That night had been heat. This was anchor. He exhaled slowly. I feel lighter. Good. She stepped even closer now, water running between them. The distance shrinking naturally. He studied her face. No fear, no desperation, just strength. You didn't walk away, he said quietly. I don't run from storms, she replied. His chest tightened again, but differently this time. Not fog, emotion. I don't deserve you. That's not your decision. Her words were firm. He let out a shaky breath. You're stronger than me. She smiled faintly. Well, I've had to be. Silence settled between them, but it wasn't heavy anymore. It felt charged. He reached for her waist slowly, this time not impulsive. Intentional. She didn't resist. Her hand rested against his chest again. His thumb brushed lightly against her hip, water running over both of them. He leaned down slowly, paused, waiting. She held his gaze, then nodded slightly. That was consent. That was choice. His lips touched hers softly at first. Nothing rushed. Nothing desperate. She responded gently. Their kiss deepened gradually. Not chaotic, not fogged, present. He felt it immediately. The difference. His mind wasn't racing. His body wasn't pulling ahead of him. He was here, with her, fully. He pulled back slightly. "Is this real?" he whispered. Yes. Her voice was steady. He kissed her again, longer, deeper, hands moving slowly. Exploring with patience instead of urgency, she leaned into him. Not to claim, but to connect. Steam thickened the air. Breathing grew heavier, but grounded. His fingers traced along her back carefully. Her hands slid through his hair. There was tension still, but it wasn't chaotic. It was longing. Forgiveness beginning. Desire returning. "You still choose me?" she murmured against his lips. Yes. No hesitation. This time it was clear. Her kiss changed slightly. More sure, more open. He lifted her gently, carried her toward the bedroom. Water still dripping from their skin. Neither rushing, neither avoiding eye contact. This wasn't about escape. It was about restoration. He laid her down slowly, hovering above her for a moment, searching her face again. "Tell me if you want me to stop." "I won't." The intimacy that followed wasn't reckless. It was deliberate, hands exploring slowly, breath sinking, emotion rising naturally. Every touch felt intentional, every movement aware. He wasn't fogged, he wasn't lost. He was present, and she felt it. The connection deepened, heat building gradually. Her fingers gripped his shoulders slightly. A soft sound escaped her lips. Not forced, not dramatic, real. He pressed his forehead to hers briefly. "I'm here," he whispered. "I know." The night unfolded gently, intimately, not rushed, not frantic. When they finally collapsed into stillness, the air felt clear. Different from Lake Harmony, different from that impulsive night. He lay beside her, breathing steady. "I feel like myself again," he murmured. She turned toward him. "Good." He placed his hand over her stomach absent-mindedly. Protectively. She didn't move it, didn't comment. Just let it rest there, quiet, warm, and somewhere deep inside her, a sense of certainty settled. This was the kind of closeness that builds something lasting. Not chaos, not competition, but foundation. He exhaled slowly, and for the first time in days, the fog felt thinner. Lake Harmony felt different that same night. Benit sat alone on the edge of her bed, staring at her phone. No message, no call. She told herself that didn't matter. It was real, she whispered quietly. But something inside her felt unsettled. Down the hallway, Maria stood in front of her mirror. Her reflection looked pale. She pressed her fingers lightly to her temple. A faint pressure pulsed there, like something tightening. "Relax," she muttered to herself. "It's working." She paced slowly, trying to ignore the strange restlessness building in her chest. Meanwhile, miles away in downtown Chicago, steam still lingered faintly in Daisy's bedroom. Davion lay beside her, breathing steady, clear, his thoughts sharp for the first time in days. He turned his head slowly. "I don't feel heavy anymore," he said quietly. She studied his face. "You look different." "How?" "Present." He exhaled softly. "Whatever was clouding me, it's gone." Her hand rested against his chest again. Then, hold on to that. Back in Lake Harmony, Maria suddenly stopped pacing. Her breath caught sharply. The pressure in her head intensified. She grabbed the edge of the dresser. "What is that?" Her vision blurred slightly. A sharp ringing filled her ears. She squeezed her eyes shut. Stop! Downstairs, a light flickered briefly in the hallway. Benit felt it too. A strange chill ran through her body. She rubbed her arms slowly. "The heat is on," she muttered. But the chill wasn't from temperature. It was internal, subtle, unsettling. Maria gasped softly in her room. The pouch under Davion's pillow began to loosen. The red thread slipped slightly. The air felt charged, not loud, but tense. In Chicago, Daisy shifted slightly closer to Davion. Water still clung faintly to their skin. She traced her fingers slowly along his shoulder. He felt steady, grounded, not pulled, not restless, fully aware. He looked at her. "I should have come to you sooner." "Yes," she said gently, "and I won't make that mistake again." Silence. Peaceful. At Lake Harmony, the red thread snapped, not violently, just enough. Maria's body jerked slightly as if something invisible had recoiled. She stumbled backward, her breathing uneven. "It broke," she whispered. Her chest tightened painfully. Tears filled her eyes unexpectedly. "Why does it hurt?" The energy didn't explode. It shifted, released. Benit sat upright suddenly. A strange heaviness pressed against her lower stomach briefly. She winced. What was that? It passed quickly, leaving only confusion behind. Maria sank slowly to the floor, the ringing in her ears fading gradually. Her palms pressed against the cold wood. "No," she murmured. He wasn't supposed to. But she knew. She knew the condition. If another woman bathed him fully, if water touched him with intention, if care replaced confusion, the hold would dissolve. And it had. Her breathing steadied slowly, but her heart felt hollow. "I lost," she whispered faintly. Miles away, Davion kissed Daisy's forehead gently. No urgency, no desperation, just certainty. "I choose you," he said quietly. Her lips curved slightly. "You already did." He closed his eyes. Peace settled into his chest. Back in Lake Harmony, Maria remained on the floor, tears slipping quietly down her face. Not dramatic, not loud, just realization. Energy doesn't disappear. It returns. And somewhere else in the house, Benit placed her hand over her stomach again, absent-mindedly, confused by the brief discomfort, but dismissing it. "It's nothing," she told herself softly. Yet something had shifted. The balance Mama Solace warned about had corrected itself, and none of them fully understood the cost yet. Morning came quietly in Chicago. Soft light filtered through Daisy's curtains. Davion woke before her, not startled, not restless, calm. He stared at the ceiling for a long moment. No pressure behind his eyes, no scattered thoughts, just clarity. He turned his head slowly. Daisy slept peacefully beside him, her breathing steady, her hand resting lightly near his chest. He studied her face. How had he doubted this? The confusion of the past days now felt distant, embarrassing, like remembering a dream that made no sense once you were fully awake. He exhaled slowly. "What was wrong with me?" he whispered under his breath. Fragments of memory flickered. Benit's room. The rain on the window, heat without thought. He sat up slowly. That had been real, but it didn't feel anchored to him anymore. It felt foreign, impulsive, disconnected from who he knew himself to be. He rubbed his hands over his face. "I almost destroyed everything," he murmured. Daisy stirred slightly. Her eyes opened gently. "You're thinking too loud," she said softly. He let out a faint breath. "Sorry." She propped herself up on one elbow. "How do you feel?" "Clear. Good." He hesitated. I don't deserve how steady you are. She studied him. Well, earn it. Not cruel, not soft. Just real. He nodded. I will. She reached forward and brushed her fingers lightly against his jaw. That confusion, it's gone? Yes. No hesitation. He shook his head slowly. No hesitation. Silence lingered. But this time, it wasn't fragile. It felt rebuilt. He leaned down and kissed her gently. No urgency, no fog. Intentional. She responded fully. Present. And something deeper settled between them. Not just reconciliation, alignment. After a while, he stood to get dressed. I need to go back to Lake Harmony, he said quietly. Her expression didn't change. I figured, but I'm not going back the same. She nodded once. Good. He stepped closer before leaving. I meant what I said. I know. About choosing you. Her gaze held his. I'll hold you to that. Back at Lake Harmony, the air felt heavier. Maria hadn't slept. Her eyes were swollen. Her head throbbed faintly. But not from the spell anymore. From realization. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall. He felt different, she whispered to herself. She had sensed it immediately. The shift. The break. That invisible thread snapping. He chose her. The words tasted bitter. Not because he loved Daisy, but because he chose freely. And that made everything Maria had done feel smaller, weaker. She pressed her hands against her face. I forced something that wasn't mine. The weight of that truth settled slowly. Down the hall, Benit stood in front of the mirror adjusting her uniform. She looked radiant, not visibly different. But inside, she felt certain. He won't forget, she murmured quietly. She replayed that night over and over. His hands, his urgency, the way he said her name. That hadn't been imagination. That had been real. And in her mind, real meant progress. She smoothed her hair slowly. He just needed time. There was no awareness yet of what had shifted. No understanding of the broken hold. Only belief, hope, maybe even quiet victory. When Davion walked back into the mansion later that afternoon, both women felt it. Benit saw him first. Her lips parted slightly. Hi, she said softly. He nodded politely. Hey. His tone was stable, not charged, not lingering. Her smile faltered just slightly. You look better, she added. I feel better. He kept walking. No pause. No extra glance. That small detail tightened something inside her chest. Maria watched from the staircase. Her eyes met his briefly. He didn't avoid her, but he didn't lean toward her either. He simply looked steady, and that steadiness confirmed it. It's over, she whispered faintly to herself. Davion entered his father's study shortly after. Sterling glanced up from his desk. You look composed. I am. Good. Sterling studied him carefully. The engagement announcement should proceed soon. Davion didn't hesitate. Yes, that single word echoed differently than it had days ago. No doubt, no internal pull, just decision. Later that evening, Benit found herself alone in the kitchen with Davion again. The same space where lingering touches had started. She stepped closer cautiously. About the other night. He stiffened slightly. There shouldn't have been an other night. Her breath caught. I thought it was a mistake. The word landed heavy. She tried to steady her voice. It didn't feel like one. It was silence. She searched his face for softness, for heat, for something familiar. She didn't find it. I'm engaged, he continued quietly. And I crossed a line I shouldn't have. Her throat tightened. So that's it? Yes. He didn't linger. He didn't apologize emotionally. He stated fact. That hurt more. She nodded faintly. Okay. He walked away, and for the first time since that night, doubt crept into her certainty. Upstairs, Maria stood near her window again, watching Lake Harmony darken under evening light. I tried to bend fate, she whispered, and fate bent back. Her reflection looked smaller than usual. Not defeated, but humbled. 3 lives had shifted in less than a week. 1 man regained clarity, 1 woman regained stability. 2 others now stood on uncertain ground, and somewhere beneath the surface of it all, consequences were still forming quietly, unseen, unannounced, but inevitable. Davion changed, not dramatically, not cruelly, just clearly. He no longer lingered in the kitchen, no longer allowed silence to stretch between them, no extra glances, no softened voice. Polite, measured, distant. Benit noticed it the first morning after he returned from Chicago. She was pouring coffee when he entered. "Good morning," she said lightly. "Morning," he replied. No warmth, no pause. He poured his own cup. That detail stung. He used to let her hand it to him. She watched him carefully. "You look rested," she added. "Yeah, just that." "Yeah." He walked out. Her fingers tightened around the counter. "He's overwhelmed," she whispered to herself. That had to be it. Pressure from his father. Engagement talks. Public image. Men retreat when they're stressed. She told herself that repeatedly. Later that night, she lay on her bed staring at the ceiling. Her mind replayed the rain, the heat, the urgency, the way he said her name. That wasn't confusion. That was desire. "You don't touch someone like that if it's nothing," she murmured softly. She turned onto her side. He had looked at her like he needed her. That wasn't imagined. She could still feel his hands at her waist, his breath against her skin. That connection couldn't just disappear. It couldn't. He just needs time, she told herself again. Her chest tightened slightly. But he felt it. Silence filled her small room. He felt it. She clung to that thought like oxygen, because, without it, it meant she had misread everything, and Benit hated being wrong. It started subtly. Fatigue, not dramatic, just a heaviness she couldn't shake. She blamed long shifts, late nights. Lake Harmony had been tense lately. That could drain anyone. One morning, while setting the breakfast table, a wave of nausea hit her unexpectedly. She paused, hand gripping the edge of the counter. She inhaled slowly, exhaled. "It's just stress." She straightened, but the feeling lingered. By the end of the week, she noticed something else. Her cycle hadn't come. She stood in her small bathroom staring at the calendar on her phone. Her thumb hovered over the date. No, she counted again, and again. Well, maybe I miscalculated. Her voice wasn't steady. She sat on the closed toilet lid quietly, thinking. The timeline, the rain. That night, her heart began to race. "No," she whispered faintly. She stood abruptly, shook her head. "Don't jump." But her body already knew. Her hand drifted slowly to her lower stomach. A strange mixture of fear and something else settled inside her. Possibility. She left the bathroom without finishing the thought, telling herself she was overthinking. But that night, she lay awake longer than usual, counting days again in her head. And this time, the math didn't comfort her. She bought the test in a pharmacy 2 towns away. No uniform, no eye contact, just quick payment and exit. Back in her room at Lake Harmony, she locked the door quietly. Her hands trembled slightly as she read the instructions. "It's probably nothing." Her voice sounded small. Minutes passed slower than they should have. She sat on the edge of the tub, staring at the stick resting on the counter. Her heart pounded loudly in her ears. "Don't be dramatic," she muttered. Then, she stood, walked toward it slowly, looked down. Silence. 2 lines. Clear. Unmistakable. She didn't breathe at first. Her knees weakened slightly. She sat down on the bathroom floor, cold tile beneath her, still staring. 2 lines. Not 1. 2. A slow smile began forming on her face. Shock. Then realization. Then something deeper. Her hand moved slowly to her stomach again. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "I didn't lose." Tears welled in her eyes. But she wasn't crying from sadness. This felt like proof. Proof that night mattered. Proof she wasn't invisible. Proof something real had happened. She let out a shaky breath. I didn't lose. The words felt powerful, heavy, final. She pressed her palm flat against her stomach. A quiet sense of triumph bloomed inside her, not loud. Not boastful, just certain. Everything changed after that. Not externally, internally. Benit walked through Lake Harmony differently now. Shoulders slightly straighter. Gaze calmer. She wasn't chasing glances anymore. She didn't need to. She carried something. She carried proof. Davion passed her in the hallway that afternoon. "Excuse me," he said politely. She stepped aside. Their eyes met briefly. She didn't search his face this time. She simply held his gaze calmly. He looked away first. That small detail warmed her chest. He'll soften, she told herself. Men retreat when they're overwhelmed, but fatherhood changes things. She imagined telling him, not dramatically, just quietly, "I'm pregnant." She imagined his expression shifting. Shock, then realization, then responsibility. Davion wasn't reckless. He wouldn't abandon his child. And that thought anchored her. This wasn't desperation anymore. This was destiny. She stood in front of the mirror one evening, studied her reflection. "Fate chose me," she whispered softly. The narrative rewrote itself in her mind. That night hadn't been fog. It had been inevitability. Daisy had confidence, but Benit had connection. And now, she had something deeper. She rested her hand over her stomach again, smiling faintly. "He'll understand." Maria noticed immediately. Not the pregnancy, the energy. Benit moved differently. Quieter, less reactive, more certain. Maria watched her from across the kitchen. "You seem happy," she said lightly. Benit didn't look up. "I am. That's new." Benit's lips curved slightly. "Is it?" Maria studied her closely. There was a glow, not visible to outsiders, but felt. Maria's stomach tightened. Something had shifted. She could sense it. "You talked to him?" Maria asked carefully. "No." "Then why do you look like you won something?" Benit finally looked at her. Long, steady. "Because the first did." Maria's breath caught. "Did what?" Benit didn't answer directly. She simply turned back to the counter, humming softly under her breath. Maria's chest tightened painfully. The spell had broken. She knew that. She felt it. So what was Benit so confident about? A thought formed slowly in Maria's mind, and it terrified her. "No," she whispered faintly to herself. If the energy had released, if balance had returned, if consequences had shifted, then something must have absorbed it. Her gaze drifted briefly toward Benit's stomach. Benit noticed the glance. Instinctively, her hand moved subtly over her abdomen. Protective. Maria saw it, and her heart dropped. "What did I do?" she murmured quietly, because now she understood. The hold had broken, but the impact hadn't disappeared. It had moved. And neither woman yet understood how violently fate was preparing to correct everything. Sterling Whitmore did not believe in delay. He believed in positioning. 3 days after Davion returned from Chicago, Sterling summoned him to the study. "You look steady," Sterling observed. "I am. Good." Sterling closed a folder slowly. "The Brooks family expects a formal announcement this week." Davion didn't hesitate. "Let's do it." Sterling's eyes sharpened slightly. No resistance. No. A brief silence. Sterling leaned back in his chair. "You're certain?" "Yes." "For the right reasons." Davion met his gaze directly. "I'm marrying Daisy because I choose her, not because you planned it." Sterling's expression remained composed. "But my planning didn't hurt." Davion almost smiled faintly. "Not this time." Sterling nodded once. "I'll have the estate prepared. Small gathering. Immediate circle." "Fine." As Davion stood to leave, Sterling added, "Your clarity suits you." Davion paused slightly. "I know." And that single statement carried more weight than Sterling understood. The afternoon Daisy arrived, Lake Harmony felt charged, not tense, anticipatory. A sleek black car pulled into the driveway. Benit was in the foyer arranging fresh flowers when she heard the engine. Her hands slowed. She didn't need to look to know who it was. Maria stood near the staircase, watching. The front door opened. Daisy stepped inside. Composed, graceful, powerful without effort. She wore a fitted cream blazer over a soft dress, natural curls framing her face. She didn't scan the house nervously. She walked in like she belonged. Davion appeared from the hallway almost immediately, and the way he looked at her, there was no fog, no hesitation, just alignment. "You made it," he said, stepping forward. "Of course," she replied calmly. He kissed her gently on the cheek. Intentional, public. Bennett's fingers tightened around the flower stem slightly. She kept her face neutral, professional. But inside, something shifted. Daisy turned toward the staff politely. "Good afternoon." Her tone was respectful, not dismissive. Bennet nodded slightly. "Welcome." Their eyes met briefly. Daisy's gaze wasn't hostile. It was steady, grounded, secure, and that security unsettled Benit more than arrogance would have. Davion's hand rested lightly at Daisy's lower back as he guided her toward the sitting area. Protective, natural, unforced. Maria swallowed slowly. She watched Davion closely. His posture was different, not restless, not distracted, certain. The spell had truly broken, and Maria felt it in her bones. The engagement announcement was made in the main hall, close circle. Sterling standing tall. Daisy poised beside Davion. Family and trusted associates, Sterling began calmly. "It is my honor to formally announce the engagement of my son, Davion Whitmore, to Daisy Brooks." Polite applause filled the room. Davion turned toward Daisy fully. He took her hand, not out of obligation, but willingly. Bennet stood near the back wall, serving drinks, invisible. Her ears rang faintly as she watched him slide the ring onto Daisy's finger. Daisy smiled softly, not exaggerated, just real. Davion leaned in slightly, whispered something only she could hear. She laughed quietly. That small intimacy felt louder than the applause. Bennett's chest tightened. Her hand moved unconsciously to her stomach. Protective, possessive. "Don't react," she whispered to herself internally. He doesn't know yet. This is temporary. He has responsibilities. He'll understand when he finds out. But watching them stand side by side, aligned, unified, public, felt like someone pressing slowly on a bruise she hadn't admitted was there. Maria glanced toward Bennet, noticed the hand at her abdomen, noticed the stillness. Something twisted painfully inside her. "You shouldn't have done this," Maria whispered under her breath, but it was too late. The room continued celebrating. Bennet forced herself to move, to serve, to smile faintly, but the illusion had cracked slightly, just slightly. Later that evening, after most guests had left, Bennet found Davion alone near the back terrace overlooking the lake. She stepped outside slowly. "Congratulations," she said quietly. He nodded. "Thank you." Silence. The lake was calm, the air cooler now. "You look happy," she added. "I am." The word landed heavier than she expected. She swallowed. "There's something I need to tell you." He turned toward her slightly. "What is it?" Her throat tightened. This was the moment. She could say it. She could change everything. Her voice caught. His expression was steady, clear, grounded, not conflicted, not uncertain. If she told him now, it would sound like leverage, like interruption, like sabotage. She hesitated. "I just wanted to say, I hope you mean it." He frowned slightly. "Mean what?" "This engagement." "I do." Silence. She searched his face again. No softness, no hidden signal, only decision. Her hand drifted toward her stomach again. Subtle, unconscious. She stopped herself. Not now, not like this. "I'm happy for you," she said instead. The words tasted bitter. He nodded once. "Thank you, Benit." He didn't linger. He walked back inside. She remained there, breathing unevenly. "You'll need time," she whispered softly to herself. This wasn't the right moment. She would wait. When the shock of fatherhood softened him, when responsibility grounded him, then he would see. Then he would understand. She wasn't losing. Not yet. Later that night, Maria entered Benit's room quietly. "You looked shaken earlier," Maria said softly. "I'm fine." "You're not." Benit turned slowly. "What do you want?" Maria hesitated. Her hands trembled slightly. "There's something I need to tell you." Benit crossed her arms. "Well?" Maria swallowed. "I tried something. With Davion." Benit's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean tried?" "I wanted him to see me, to lean toward me. And," Maria's voice dropped, "I went to someone." Benit stared. "For what?" "For help." Silence. "What kind of help?" Benit pressed. Maria's breathing grew uneven. "I tried to influence him." Benit's expression hardened. "You what?" "I didn't think it would hurt anyone." Benit stepped closer. "Explain." Maria shook her head. "I can't explain all of it. Just know it broke." "Broke?" "Yes." "And what does that mean?" "It means whatever was clouding him is gone." Benit's chest tightened. "So you're saying he wasn't thinking clearly?" Maria didn't answer directly. "He's himself now." Silence. Heavy. Benit felt anger rise. "You're blaming his choices on something else?" "I'm telling you something shifted." Benit's jaw tightened. "He chose me that night." Maria flinched slightly. "Maybe. What is that supposed to mean?" Maria's eyes flicked briefly to Benit's stomach, then away. "Just be careful," she whispered. "Careful of what?" Maria didn't answer. She stepped back slowly. "Some things have consequences." The door closed softly behind her. Benit stood alone in the quiet room, her heart racing. "He chose me," she repeated. But Maria's words lingered. Something shifted, clouded, cleared. Benit placed her hand firmly over her stomach again. "He chose me," and she would hold on to that belief, even as the ground beneath her began to weaken. It happened 3 days after the engagement announcement. Late evening, most of the house quiet. Benit knocked on Davion's study door softly. "Come in," he called. She stepped inside, closed the door behind her. Her heart was pounding so loudly she wondered if he could hear it. "We need to talk." His posture stiffened slightly. "About?" She didn't sit, didn't pace. She stood still. "I'm pregnant." Silence. Complete. The words seemed to hang in the air between them. Davion blinked once. "What?" "I'm pregnant." His face drained slightly. He stood slowly from behind the desk. "How?" Her expression hardened. "You know how." His mind began racing. Dates, moments, the rain, that night. "That was weeks ago," he muttered faintly. "Yes." Silence again. Heavy. He ran a hand through his hair. "You're sure?" "Yes." "Test?" He turned away briefly, pressed both palms against the desk. The room felt smaller. His thoughts scattered. "But that night," he whispered. She stepped closer. "That night mattered." His jaw tightened. "I wasn't clear." Her chest tightened instantly. "What does that mean?" "I wasn't myself." Her voice sharpened. "So now it doesn't count." "I didn't say that." "Then what are you saying?" He struggled to form words. "I need to understand the timeline." She stared at him. "You think I'm lying?" "No, but you're calculating." Silence stretched painfully. Her hand rested over her stomach protectively. "You don't look happy," she whispered. He swallowed. "I look overwhelmed." "Is it because of her?" He didn't answer immediately. That silence was answer enough. Her throat tightened. You're engaged. I get that. He looked at her sharply. This isn't about convenience. Then what is it about? He inhaled slowly. I need to think. Her eyes filled slightly. So do that. But don't pretend this didn't happen. He nodded faintly. I won't. But his mind was already spiraling inward. After she left, he sat down heavily. He replayed everything carefully. The fog, the impulsiveness, the night with Benit, the shower with Daisy. The moment clarity returned, he grabbed his phone, scrolled through dates, counted backward. His chest tightened. The conception aligned exactly with the period he had felt clouded. Not before, not after, during. Guilt hit hard, not because of the child, but because of context. If that wasn't fully me, he whispered. He felt trapped between accountability and confusion. A child didn't deserve uncertainty. Daisy didn't deserve betrayal. Benit didn't deserve to feel used. He closed his eyes tightly. This is my responsibility. But fear crept in. How do you explain that your mind wasn't steady when you crossed a line? It sounded like excuse, even if it wasn't. He leaned back in his chair. And what does this do to Daisy? The thought made his chest ache. She had just rebuilt trust, just forgiven him. And now, this. The pressure was tightening. Daisy noticed immediately. Davion grew quieter that evening. Not distant, just waited. She found him on the balcony overlooking the lake. You're somewhere else, she said softly. He didn't deny it. Yeah, what happened? He hesitated. She stepped closer. Don't hesitate with me. He inhaled slowly. There's something I need to tell you. Her posture shifted slightly. Okay. Benit is pregnant. Silence, not explosive. Still. Pregnant, she repeated. Yes. Her eyes searched his face. Yours? Yes. She nodded once. No immediate anger, just processing. When? The night I wasn't thinking clearly. Her gaze sharpened slightly. The fog? Yes. She exhaled slowly. So while you felt lost, she felt chosen. The words stung. I didn't plan it. That doesn't undo it. I know. She turned away briefly. Not dramatic, just steady. And now? I don't know. That answer fractured something. You don't know. I mean, I don't know how to move forward without hurting everyone. Her voice lowered. You already have. Silence. She didn't cry, didn't shout. That made it heavier. I need honesty, she said quietly. Not confusion. I'm being honest. Then be clear. He hesitated again. That hesitation cut deeper than any confession. Her jaw tightened slightly. Do you love me? Yes. No doubt? No. She studied him carefully, then asked softly, if she hadn't gotten pregnant, would you have told me? He froze. The silence that followed felt dangerous. Her eyes darkened slightly. I see. She stepped back, not walking away, but not stepping closer either. Trust hadn't shattered, but it had cracked, and cracks spread under pressure. That same night, Maria couldn't take it anymore. She entered the study while Davion sat alone. I need to tell you everything, she said immediately. He looked up sharply. What now? She closed the door behind her, tears already forming. I caused this. He stiffened. Explain? She shook her head violently. I went to Mama Solis. I asked for help to influence you. He stared at her. You what? I thought if you leaned toward me, even a little, you tampered with my mind. I didn't think it would go this far. He stepped closer. What exactly did you do? She explained. The pouch, the influence, the condition. If another woman bathed you with intention, it would break. His stomach dropped. The shower. She nodded slowly. That's when it snapped. And you didn't think to tell me immediately. I was ashamed. He ran a hand over his face. So that night with Benit, you weren't fully clear. Silence, heavy, the pieces aligned. The fog, the impulse, the break, and now the pregnancy. He staggered slightly backward. I was manipulated, but you still chose, Maria whispered. He looked at her sharply. Yes, that part he would never deny. I crossed the line, he said firmly. Spell or not, Maria broke down fully now. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You did. Tears streamed down her face. I know. Benit found out minutes later. Maria had broken down in the hallway. Voices raised. She heard enough. Spell, clouded, influence, bathing, break. Her heart pounded violently. She entered the study without knocking. You weren't clear? She demanded. Davion turned. Benit, you weren't yourself? He struggled. I wasn't thinking straight. Her chest tightened painfully. So, what was I? Silence. You used me while you were unclear. She snapped. No, but you said you didn't feel like yourself. I still chose, he said firmly. Did you? Her voice cracked. Or was I just the closest option when your mind was weak? The words cut deep. I never meant to make you feel disposable. Feel? She laughed bitterly. I am carrying your child. The room froze. Maria gasped softly. Daisy stood in the doorway now, silent, witnessing. Benit's breathing grew uneven. You weren't clear, she whispered. So, what does that make me? Davion stepped forward. Don't twist this. I'm not twisting anything. She shouted. You regret me. No, you regret the circumstances. Silence. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. I thought I won, she whispered faintly. That was the truth. Raw. And humiliating. You weren't choosing me, she continued quietly. You were escaping something. Her eyes filled, not with weakness, with realization. And now I look like the mistake. The room felt charged. Daisy stepped forward slowly. This child isn't a mistake. Benit looked at her sharply. Don't. The humiliation burned. The illusion shattered. And something darker began forming beneath her grief. Not revenge. Not yet. But wounded pride. And wounded pride can be dangerous. The storm wasn't here yet. But it was building. The argument didn't end cleanly. It didn't soften. It didn't resolve. Benit left the study shaking. Not screaming. Not crying loudly. Just shaking. I thought I won, she whispered as she walked down the hallway. Her chest felt tight. Her ears ringing. Maria tried to follow. Benit, wait. Don't touch me. Her voice cracked. Daisy stood still. Davion moved forward instinctively. Benit, slow down. She turned sharply. Slow down. She laughed faintly. You want me calm now. Her hand pressed against her stomach protectively. You weren't clear, she repeated. So, what was I? He stepped toward her. You weren't nothing. Then what? Silence. That silence broke her. She turned abruptly toward the staircase. I need air. She wasn't thinking about steps, or balance, or the way her vision blurred from tears. She moved too quickly. Heel caught fabric. Foot missed edge. There was a split second, a pause, a gasp, wait, then the fall. Her body hit the steps hard, once, twice, then she landed at the bottom. Still, the sound echoed. Maria screamed. Davion froze for half a second before rushing forward. Benit. Daisy's hand flew to her mouth. Benit blinked weakly, her breath shallow, pain radiating. She tried to move. Couldn't. Her hand instinctively went to her stomach. And then, blood. Not dramatic, not exaggerated, just real, spreading slowly beneath her. Davion's voice broke. No, no, no. Maria dropped to her knees. This is my fault. Daisy stood frozen for only a second. Then she moved. Call 911. Her voice was steady, controlled, commanding, because someone had to be. The hospital room was quiet. Too quiet. Davion stood against the wall. Sterling had arrived, composed, cold, contained. Maria sat in a chair, pale. Daisy stood beside Davion, not touching him, but near. The doctor entered calmly. "I'm sorry." 2 words, soft, professional. There was too much internal trauma. Silence swallowed the room. The pregnancy could not be saved. Benit lay in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. No screaming, no dramatic sobbing, just stillness. Her hand rested over her now empty stomach. "I didn't lose," she whispered faintly. But she had, and the realization hollowed her. Davion stepped forward slowly. "I'm sorry." She didn't look at him. "Were you clear now?" she asked quietly. The question sliced through him. "Yes." She finally turned her head. Tears slid silently down her temples. "Good." That one word held more pain than shouting ever could. Maria didn't escape either. Stress broke something inside her. Days after the fall, she collapsed in the kitchen. One side of her body weakened. The diagnosis wasn't dramatic, but permanent. Nerve damage. Partial paralysis in one leg. She stared at the doctor blankly. "So this is balance," she whispered. Sterling handled it quietly. Medical bills covered. Departure arranged. Reputation protected. Maria packed her belongings slowly. She knocked on Benit's hospital room door before leaving. "I'm sorry," she said through tears. Benit didn't respond immediately. Finally, "I don't hate you." Maria broke down. "But I hate what we did." She left Lake Harmony with a limp, and with humility she had never known before. Sterling visited Davion privately. "You allowed chaos into this house." Davion didn't argue. "Yes." "Your weakness created instability." "Yes." Sterling studied him carefully. "Do you understand what leadership requires?" "Clarity and accountability." Sterling nodded once. "For the first time, you sound like my son." Davion didn't feel victorious. He felt sobered. Late one night, Davion sat alone in the empty study, hands shaking. "I did this," he whispered. Spell or not, fog or not, he had crossed the line, and a life had ended. Daisy entered quietly. She didn't announce herself. She simply stood behind him. He didn't turn around. "I don't deserve forgiveness." She walked around slowly and faced him. "That's not your decision." He looked up. "I failed everyone." "Yes," she said gently. He exhaled painfully. "Why are you still here?" Her voice was calm. "Because love is tested in storms, not sunlight." Silence. "But don't mistake my presence for blindness," she added. He nodded slowly. "I won't." Daisy stood in front of him fully. "Do you love me?" she asked quietly. "Or do you fear losing me?" The question lingered. He didn't hesitate this time. "I love you." "No fog?" "No." "No escape?" "No." "Then choose me again." "I do." She stepped closer. "But choosing me means transparency, therapy, accountability. No pride." "Yes. You will tell our future children the truth about this chapter." His voice broke slightly. "Yes." She nodded slowly. "Then we rebuild." Months passed. Quietly. Therapy sessions. Hard conversations. Rebuilding trust. No dramatic romance. Just effort. Intentional effort. Benit moved back to Atlanta to heal with family support. She never sued. Never exposed. She chose privacy. But she carried scars. Maria began rehabilitation. Slow steps. Painful lessons. But growth. Davion and Daisy didn't rush a wedding. They stabilized first, and one evening, Daisy stood in their Chicago home holding a small test. Her hand trembled slightly. She walked into the living room where Davion sat reading. "Davion." He looked up. Her expression was soft, but different. "Yeah?" She placed his hand gently over her stomach. He froze. "Are you?" She nodded slowly. "Yes." Silence. His eyes filled. Not from shock, from gratitude. He knelt slowly. forehead resting lightly against her abdomen, breathing steady. "I'm clear," he whispered. "I know," she replied. "No fog. No manipulation. No chaos. Just choice. Love forced collapses. Love chosen builds. Desperation distorts judgment. Self-worth protects destiny. Control always returns with consequence. And forgiveness requires truth." Davion learned clarity. Benit learned that victory without stability is fragile. Maria learned that influence without integrity destroys. Daisy proved that strength is not loud, it is steady. And when Davion held his newborn daughter months later, he didn't feel confusion. He felt responsibility, legacy, peace. And he whispered softly, "Never choose out of fog, because clarity is the only foundation strong enough to build a future on." What would you have done in Davion's place? Comment below. I really want to hear your thoughts. And if you believe love should always come with clarity, hit that like button and subscribe. Peace. And he whispered softly, "Never choose out of fog, because clarity is the only foundation strong enough to build a future on." What would you have done in Davion's place? Comment below. I really want to hear your thoughts. And if you believe love should always come with clarity, hit that like button and subscribe.
If you enjoy American Love Stories, please consider subscribing and comment what you need next. And love you all from Mr. Austin.